Hey, everyone. How is everyone on this wonderful day? I see we've got a few folks joining already. Let me go ahead and look at the comments here. I need to pop this thing out. Let me bring this over here for me. Go ahead and get started here. I'm also going to post this out on our Slack. Let everybody know we are live and ready to go. All right. Anybody catch the live stream yesterday? Covered a few. It's amazing how fast time goes when I'm doing these. It's like Brooke, we've got Brooke with us. What's happening, Brooke? Yeah, it's amazing when I'm on the mic. It just goes crazy fast. I think I was talking for an hour yesterday, and it felt like I was 20 minutes or something. It was just that's how it is. Time flies when you're having fun. All right. So my plan for the stream today, I'm going to talk about some of the things I'm watching, some of the setups, and then do a little Q&A post. I'm going through the Slack right now, looking at some of the questions, and so try to help answer some of those, try to clarify a little bit, and then if there's any charts or anything you guys want to look at, we could certainly do that. Let me post on Slack here real quick. Make sure we're good to go. We're going to be together for 4 weeks, guys, and officially, it only started yesterday. I know we started a little early because everybody was here, but doesn't it feel like we've been together for a while already? Just in crypto space, man, just time goes quick. That's crazy. Just so much happening. All right. So I posted it out on Slack. We should be live now. And I'll go ahead and start looking at some of the things from the past week. And then, like I said, if you guys want to ask questions, if you want to clarify, I'll go through some of the questions on Slack, and we'll go through that and see what we got here. So, okay, cool. Let's look at some of the trades from the week. And no doubt it's been a little bit of a tough week. And so here's the thing, right? My approach, and you guys know, but I'm just going to keep repeating myself. So it's a process, right? It just takes time to learn, and technical analysis and trading and investing. There's part science and there's part art, right? There's never going to be the exact hard, fast rule that you've got to follow to the T. It's just going to take a little bit of adjusting along the way. And so I take my lead from Bitcoin, and right now that's where the market is kind of driving off of. And so yesterday in the live stream I mentioned, we're kind of putting this little low here yesterday. It looks like that 3,500 is going to want to hold for now. And so that's what's kind of leading me to be a little bit more aggressive on this trade here. And so you see this double bottom it's putting in. And the way the double bottoms work is they have like the W forms a neckline, right? Sorry about that. Let me switch the color here. So the W forms this neckline. So you put the W in, right? And the neckline is always the middle part of the W. And that's generally your breakout zone that you're looking for on a double bottom pattern. And this is on the 4-hour time frame. So it's a very short pattern, right? The longer the pattern is, if it's on a daily chart, it's much stronger. But this is on a 4-hour. So you can see it broke the neckline, popped right above 37, pretty much went right to 3,800. And now it's pulling back, and look where it's stopping, right at the 10 EMA and right at the neckline. And so when I'm seeing this, I'm going, okay, it wants to hold this this bounce, right? And so the more confirmations you see lining up, the more confidence you can have in it's safer to start getting more aggressive on some of the trades. So I sent out my positions update late yesterday, or maybe early this morning. I think it was like 1 in the morning my time. And I, you can see that I'm 70% cash still, and I'm 20, or did I bump it up? Maybe I'm 30% now. But anyway, NEO, pay, and then mostly cash, right? And so now I'm thinking, okay, it's good to start getting aggressive on that. And let me see here. Somebody's asking about the link. Sorry about that. All right, I had to post that on Slack. People were asking about the link for the live stream. Okay, so it's good to get a little bit more confident, more aggressive. Now, if you look at the daily chart still, right? If we go out, and I'm sorry, guys, that was the 2-hour chart, not the 4-hour chart. So that's the 2-hour that I'm looking at here. On the 4-hour chart, it is above the 10 as well. So that's good news. On the daily chart, right, we're looking at, there's still this downtrend in play, the broader downtrend. And it doesn't mean we can't make any trades while that's in play. You just have to be keeping that in the back of your mind, right? You just got to be noticing that, hey, this is still in play. And yeah, it could pop and just break out and start moving, which I hope it does. But you always have to keep that in mind. It's bouncing right into the 10 EMA. And you can see historically that's where things fail, right? The rally doesn't get too much above that. It falls in right here, bounces into it, falls down right here, popped above, didn't hold it, the next day broke. And so we're right there. The 10 EMA on the daily chart is still declining, and it correlates with this downtrend. And that's good news right now because we're really close. So I'm thinking we might start to edge out here or start to break. At the very least, I'd like to see this downtrend at least flatten out and this 100 moving average on the daily start to trail up and create this little pattern here. And so I'm feeling a little bit better. Let me see, going back to the 4-hour chart. If if you guys want to start taking some trades here, this little double bottom is starting to confirm here, so you can start getting back into Bitcoin, in my opinion, and then just kind of hold Bitcoin until we can flip out into an altcoin, right? So do the BTC trades, BTC versus whatever, right? NEO, Lisk, Decred. And so those are some of the ones that I'm watching right now at the top of my list. Let's go take a look at the trades from this past couple days here. Let me see. So let's talk pay first, because that was a big breakout. There was no technical signal early on that would have alluded to pay wanting to break out here, right? Pay was just strictly in a decline, and it just had this big break, and the volume was compelling, which is why I pay attention. When you see those big breaks off the lows with volume, you have to pay attention. And the other thing was it correlated with this prior base. The top of this base way back here in mid-July was the low here. So that's another signal that, okay, that's a good confirmation there. Now, if we zoom in, go all the way to the 1-hour chart, initially, so here's why I adjusted my stop, just so you guys know. I know there was a little confusion around that. And I need to figure out what's the best way to convey those messages, because I don't want to clutter the signals. I don't want to make it look like I made a new trade. So maybe I post adjust or update or something, and then the trade that I made. But initially, right, when something goes straight up, there's always going to be a pullback, right? And you want it to pull back a little bit, but you want it to flag out, kind of like how it did here. And so I entered, I believe it was right in here when it started to move up. And let me go to the Slack, see what that exact amount was. Let me see, trade, pay 59K, right? So I bought it right in this little thing as it started to move up here. And then it pulled back, and initially my stop was this first level here at 55 or so. 50, what did I say? 55 was the signal that I gave. So that was down here to give it some room. And then it started to move up, but on the longer term chart, right on the 4-hour chart, I was looking at this 10 EMA coming up, and the low was way down here. And generally speaking, when they have these big breakouts, they'll come back and they'll hit this 10 EMA, and that'll hold and it'll start to go up, which is why I was willing to give it a little bit more, right? So my stop was at 55, but then I saw it holding. The volume was really coming down. It wasn't this huge, like straight up, straight down like we saw in Golem yesterday. where the volume equals the buy side, right? This was drifting down, so I was not wanting to get shaken out of this one. So I just said my stop's going to be just, more way down here on the 10 EMA. I could live through a quick spike down and then let it go up. So I'm still holding it. If you got stopped out, I would say you can get back in at this point and let this 10 EMA or the lows from basically the last day or so be your exit point, right? So right around here. Just because, I mean, the traders and everybody knows the signals, and so you can see it pop to the downside and then straight back up, and you'd be okay. And that's just really annoying when you get stopped out like that. And so if you're available and watching the charts, then you can just kind of let it go for an hour and see if it's going, and then if it starts to rise, hold it. You take your signals based on the volume, right? If it like just starts to tank really fast and volume starts coming in quick, then yeah, that's a way to get out. Right now, I'm thinking this is going to hold, and I'm going to hold this position. Now, it's only 10% of the portfolio, so it's not even that big, right? So even if this drops 10% and I get stopped out at 10%, I'm 10% of 10%. That's going to be a 1% hit to the portfolio. In my opinion, I'm willing to take that risk. I mean, it's not that much. So that's why I'm a little wider. Now, if this represented 50% of the trade portfolio, then heck yeah, right? Keep a tighter stop, because you drop 10%, then that's going to cause a bigger swing in the total scheme of things. And so you got to factor in a lot of things. And I know it's not easy, right? It's just kind of weighing the different scenarios. Is it a big part of your portfolio? Is it smaller? Is it a high risk trade? Is it, what's Bitcoin doing? You got to look at all of the things at once. And that's what I'm here to help you guys understand, and just going to try to teach some of that with, what's my thought process as it goes along. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking pay right now is a hold unless it starts to really break down here. And I'm thinking if it starts to clear this, let's just call it 60K level on volume, it's probably going to want to go up, and that could happen in the next day or two. If this flag pattern / breakout attempt is going to stick, that's what's expected, right? We're going to see this pop. You're going to see it flag out a little bit here, and then it's going to start trying to work its way up. And keep in mind, guys, this is a swing trade. This is not a day trade. So my idea is, if this little breakout attempt is going to get legs, it should rally for a few days at least. And so I'd like to see that happen. And we'd like to get that, it could go up to this prior old resistance level, and, right around here, somewhere in between here and here. And if that happens, I mean, you're talking 84K Satoshi or so. And so from this point up, I mean, just to the bottom of that, you're up 40%. And if you go up further, you're up 60%, right? And so that's why I'm willing to hold those, because you want to catch the bigger move. If you're day trading it in and out a couple times, yeah, you're going to be good with taking a 5% stop loss for a 15-10% gain. But as you guys are learning, it's hard. it's hard to get those good entries, to find the spots. And then once you get on one, you want it to stick. You want to get on it, right? If you're wrong, get out of the way, but you got to give them some time to start working their way. And so if this little breakout attempt is going to work, this first high from yesterday at 69.70, that's going to be the first resistance point, because a lot of people started selling there. But then the next level will be up to, 80 or so. And that's what I'm going to be looking to do. And so expect a signal if it starts to clear 60. I'm going to probably add to it. I'll probably add another 10%, just because this is a little higher risk name. I don't want to go too heavy on the portfolio with pay. But that's your call how much you want to put in on this. Sure, it's going to be higher percent return if it works, but if it starts to break down, you got to be willing to live. Let's say you take more at 60 or 62, somewhere in that range. It starts to break down. Are you okay with taking a 12-15% hit? Me personally, I am. But it just kind of depends on how heavy you go. If I'm only in it for 20% of my portfolio, 10%, I'm willing to do that. And that's just kind of the nature of crypto space. You got to be willing to take a little bit more of the swing there. And sometimes you got to hodl it. So I hope that makes sense, guys. That was my thought process. So expect a little bit of a signal here, either to the downside if we really start to break down on volume, and or if Bitcoin starts to really break down here. And then if it's holding and things are starting to move out, I'm going to add as it starts to cross this 60. And the highest I'll probably go is, I don't know, maybe 63, 64. I don't think I'll be buying much higher than that. I'd rather just let it backfill a little bit. And so that's my thought. And then potential price points. You know, I'm gonna try to hold it out if it gets above that 70. I really want it to. I mean, otherwise the trade's gonna. I mean, I'm gonna expect it to bounce around here, but I'm gonna wait and try to hold out for at least 79, 80, and depending on how strong it gets, maybe a little bit more. So those are my signals, guys. Let's kind of hang in there for now with this one, and let's see how it looks over the next couple of days. Dash was another one I took an early entry in, and I got out of it primarily because of the action in Bitcoin. Bitcoin started breaking down from that 37, went to 35, and at the moment it was kind of unsure where we were going to go, right? We could have gone either way. We could have stopped there, or we could have gone clear down to 34 or less, right? And that's why I just got out of the way. The sell signal was this big volume reversal, and we still technically haven't cleared that. And so I saw this big volume reversal, and I just pretty much got out of that position and went back to cash. I mean, from a longer term perspective, the 10 EMA is holding up nice. I'm just a little more cautious right now just because that trade was purely on what's the news this weekend, and those can move quick up or down depending on what starts happening, or if some people get early news, right? So that's why I'm a little more cautious with this one. Would I be buying it here? I mean, I don't know. It could pop over the night, over the weekend, as the conference comes out. So let's see here. I'm reading the notes here. Sorry, guys. So there's a comment on the chat here. So when you initially bought Pay, it appears you didn't set a stop limit at 55, set an alert warn instead. Yeah, so I set initial stop limits, but then when I saw it, and that's why I'm saying I need to maybe set up like an update when I adjust the trade. Let's go back to Pay real quick to kind of help understand that. When the trade initially went in, meaning that first buy, it was right around here. I set an initial stop limit just in case I bought it and then it just totally reversed on me and just went straight down. But as time went, it looked like it was holding, and then I saw the volume just really coming down. And at that point, I started zooming out a little bit and looking at the 4-hour chart. And this is the way it looked at the moment, right? It was like this, right? And I was thinking, okay, it's coming down. Volume's not that big, but the 10 EMA is way down here. And I didn't want to get stopped out. So I said, I'm going to give it a little bit more room, right? And I was thinking basically that 10 EMA, that's kind of a ways down, but my rationale was it's 10% of the portfolio. If I take a 10% hit, it's not that big of a deal. And so it started to drop, but then the volume was lower again. And so that was confirmation that this one's going to hold. And then as the 10 EMA started to approach, it started to get some bid here. And so far that, what was that? 53 and change was really the level that held. And really 54 was kind of on a closing basis. So that was the rationale there. And then it started to move up here. Now it's kind of consolidating still. So that's what I'm looking at. Like I said, if I adjust those, I don't want to clutter it too much on the signals, but maybe I need to do an update, and anything that's kind of the key items like a stop or the target profit zone, you know, I can adjust those, but honestly, it's just going to depend on the trade, right? If we start rallying and all of a sudden you see the big green bar at the top, I like to sell into strength sometimes. So I may take profits early if it starts to show signals that it's topping out. So, you know, we can have a target profit, but at the end of the day, when it comes to selling, I'm going to take my signals a lot from just kind of the daily action. Now, if it starts to just go straight to that target profit and it hits the profit, then yeah, maybe take half at that point and let the rest ride, or raise your stop really tight. And then if it keeps going, you're good. And if it turns around, then you just get stopped out automatically. So I'll do something like that too. I hope that helps clarify that, guys. So you're saying you didn't go all in on Pay with no stops. 100% on Pay, no stops. and I'm going to take a nap. Good night. You know, no, I didn't. I'm not that brave or crazy. All right, let's see. The other one I'm looking at here is NIO, right? So we made some entries on NIO, and so far it's looking like it's trying. I'm liking the action, right? So we've had these big pops to the upside, but then look at what they've done. They're kind of like fizzled out, not doing anything. This one's popping, and it's starting to stair step a little bit. I like that. Now it's not super strong yet, but I can't complain about that, right? All the other attempts back here have mostly been reactive pops, straight down, straight up. Look at this, straight up, fizzled out, straight up, fizzled out. This one's popping, and it's starting to hold. So that's very good. That's why I'm liking NIO, building the position up here on NIO. Added another 10% last night. So I got the total of 30% of the portfolio in NIO and 10% in pay. So basically 60-40 right now. I'm really close to just calling the rest straight into BTC and then holding BTC until we start to see some of the trades. Decred, Lisk are probably at the top of my list right now. Maybe Zcash. So let me see. So NIO, we've been looking at this big downtrend. I don't think it's going to do a V pattern, meaning we're going to break the downtrend and we're going to go straight up. It could. I don't think so. Usually the way it works out is after a long decline like this, you tend to see more of a flattening out. And you're seeing that here, right? It's starting to flatten out a little bit. Now it's the trend is just breaking. That's good. So I'm expecting a little bit of backfilling here before it starts to really move. But as more people start to notice and everybody starts to think, hey, NIO's bottomed out, I think you're going to start to see a little bit of a bid coming back into NIO. I know some of you guys were asking me on the Slack, what is my target profit for NIO? A lot of you guys are holding NIO that you bought back up here at the highs. And I'm just going to be honest, NIO is going to have a lot of hurdles to climb because there were just so many levels of resistance along the way, right? So this first one way up here, that was a clear big break. A lot of people bought NIO above this level. So clearly this is going to be an area of resistance, and that's going to be, right in what does this equate to? Basically above 800,000 there. But that's a long ways up. I think before that, this big break we saw right here and kind of correlates with this little resistance zone here. Let me highlight it for you guys. So the big break we saw, the bounce which hit resistance right above it, that's going to be probably the next level. I don't see this being a huge resistance point. There was a lot of buyers there, but I think that was more trend based. I think we'll go up to that point, pause, but I'm really hoping we start to rally, and the next level up would probably be, 65 to 70 is probably a good target profit near term if it starts to break out here. So if we go up to this first level, that's a good 12%. I mean, if you're trading it and you want to take 12%, that's not bad. This next break area is 25% up to 35. I think that's going to be some pretty major resistance there, in my opinion, just because we had multiple tops right around that, 65 to 75 area. And so I'm thinking in the short run, unless we see some news or something crazy, and I know there's an ICO coming out next month, but that's a long ways out. Unless we see some kind of, huge volume coming in for whatever reason, that's probably going to be the near-term target right now. So that's what I'm looking for. And if we get that, let's say in the next week or two, if you can get 30% on a trade, if you're in 30% of your portfolio, that's not bad. It's not a bad trade at all. Especially if it's steady, right? If it starts to march up and really just climb, then I'll be happy with that. So that's NIO. I'm in NIO. And on the downside, where would I get stopped out? So far, I'm liking the action, so I'm going to give it a little bit more room as well. The 10 EMA on the 4-hour, it could breach, so I don't think that's going to be my stop. It's going to probably be a little bit lower. A lot of times what I'll do is they'll touch back on the downtrend. So let me even fix the downtrend exactly. And what I mean by that is they'll break above the downtrend and then they'll come back and touch it and then pop from there. And so that's between there, somewhere in that area is going to be the stop point for me. So what I mean is they'll break out here and then they'll come back, and a lot of times they may come back to the actual trend and then go or close to it. And that'll correlate with this big bar, right? If it undercuts that big bar, then definitely that's a failed breakout. I mean, that's basically it. So if you got in anywhere in here, and let's say you got in at the top of that bar, breaking that bar to the downside, that's 9%, 10%. That's probably not unreasonable. And so if you got in anywhere lower than that, or right in this area, you're probably okay with that. So that's kind of how I'm going to play it. I'm going to give it some room. And again, a lot of it will be the action on a pullback. If it's a very mild, very controlled, low volume pullback, it's just kind of drifting, then not crazy, something to worry about. If it's a sharp, big volume sell, starts breaking down like it was, up here, then start reacting at that point, right? Maybe I'll sell half of it and see what it does, or just depends on the volume. Maybe sell all of it, right? So that's how I look at those. Some of the other ones potentially for this week, Decred. I'm still liking Decred. A little bit more volatile. Look at the 4-hour chart here, right? It's a little bit wider and looser. A lot of wicks on the candles, so they like to shake them out. But I'm liking this volume. Look at this volume pattern, right? The reds are getting smaller and smaller. The greens are up. I mean, I just can't complain. That's probably one of the stronger volume pattern charts I'm seeing right now. And it's setting up. So on the dailies, I'm thinking, if it starts to break out of this little pattern that it's putting in, and we start to see it move out above 0.01 really, or even higher if we start to see some volume coming in, might be good. I mean, I'm watching Bitcoin because I'm half tempted to just take it here because it's holding that 10 EMA and maybe just keeping the stop below that, giving it 9% or so. So we'll see. I might change my mind here soon and take it. But look at that, the 100 EMA on this shorter time frame is going. So that's what I'm looking at. And then Zcash, maybe Lisk. You guys have already seen the charts. Lisk is still setting up. I'm thinking got some more time to do, but it's getting close. Here's the daily chart. Moving averages are catching up. Sell volumes are pretty light on the downside here, so it's getting close. Zcash. Let me go to the dollar. Zcash. I like the volume on Zcash here. Big volume to the pop on the big sell day. Big volume here. Very light selling. Big volume the last 2 days. It's looking pretty good. So let's zoom in a little bit here on Zcash. This is a big reversal candle, but we've already exceeded that here to the upside, so not too bad. And then RSI is climbing. So I'm liking it. I'm thinking, this little pullback could potentially offer an entry here. The resistance near term is going to be this 220 area. We're basically right there. I mean, if we pop to that side from here, it's 10% up, and then the next level up is going to be 21%. So not bad. So we'll see. I think we might have to do something with Zcash here. It's looking pretty good. Let's go back to Bitcoin. What's Bitcoin doing? And then I will answer a few more questions. Let me go through the Slack, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. There was some good questions out on Slack I want to address here. Zcash, Bitcoin's looking good, guys. I'm starting to become less bearish, but like I said yesterday, right? I hope this doesn't turn into like a head and shoulders pattern. We hit the trend line and we start to break down. On the 4-hour chart, that means we're going to head down to 3,400 or 3,300 if that happens. But let's take it one day at a time. So I'm not saying that's going to happen right now. It's basically a pullback to this W bottom, and looks like we're moving up. So I might just have to go into Bitcoin for now. Let's see how it reacts. 3,800 is really that that low 3,800 area. We got to clear it. I think we might see a pop here. So, okay. So that was a good question. Coinigy versus TradingView. You guys notice I use TradingView. I use Coinigy. To be honest, I do both, but I use Coinigy more. And from a charting perspective, they're pretty much exactly the same, right? The mini bars and all that, the way they work, they feel exactly the same. You can change the settings, all that. You can do watch lists over here, which I like, but you can also do, oil and gold and stocks, and you can do the social part of it and the news. And so when I'm doing just charts, straight up just analysis, I like to be quiet. And so I don't want to clutter myself with this, because then I start distracting myself and I start looking at charts and what is other people saying. And I like to just take a very clean, objective view. So that's why I'll come here and kind of cut down some of the noise. I also like that this is crypto specific, and I can see all the exchanges out here. So if I want to compare, hey, what's it look on GDAX and what's it look like on, you know, other things. And I know you can do that on TradingView, but this is crypto specific, so you can filter through all the different exchanges and figure out from there. So that's why I use this one when I'm doing my analysis. But I do both. I use both, and for my videos, pretty much just stick to this one. Let's see here. There are some questions. All right. Any suggestions, guys? Any thoughts on how we can improve this, or anything you want me to do differently? Just go ahead and let me know. You're not going to offend me. Trust me, I've got some thick skin. Most of the time. Be nice. Let me see. TradingView, Coinigy. So some of you guys are asking about stop orders and all that stuff on Coinigy, or even TradingView. I don't use the APIs to do trading straight out of this platform. I use it strictly for charting. And so I probably couldn't help you a whole lot there because I just don't use the actual trading. When I do my trading, I just log in straight into my brokerage account. So whatever the exchange is, and I'll do it straight from there. Let's see here. Okay, so yesterday I was talking about my catastrophic stop loss. So some of you were saying, hey, I can't sleep at night if I have a trade open. Do I close it out? Do I raise my stop? Like I said, I don't like to get shaken out. So what I'll do is I'm willing to live with a bigger loss if I just overnight it just tanks for whatever reason. It's happened before, and it kind of, you have to accept that because the opposite happens too, right? You wake up the next day and you see a big pop and it's up 15% or whatever. So you just got to be willing to do that. So when I mean catastrophic loss, like say I'm in Bitcoin here, this is the end of the trading day and I'm going to go to sleep for the night. What would I put my stop at? It'd probably be like way down here, right? 35, or just in case the bottom falls out and it just starts to tank. Then at that point, you know, if it happens overnight for a few hours, yeah, I might get stopped out. It'll pop up, but I'd rather that than just live through one of these, right? But I'm not going to be setting a tight stop. If I'm in it, I'm going to want to stay in it and not get shaken out by the little wiggles. You know, during the day, if you're watching the charts or if you're trading it more actively, then yeah, you can come back and adjust the stop accordingly. So that's how I'll do those. Other questions on here? Let's see. Neo, a lot of Neo thoughts on gas. Man, I don't know what's going on with gas. It's crazy. I think it's a big pump, but yeah, it's amazing. Since it's been added on Polo, there's just more trading there. Oh, let's see here. Some of you guys are posting charts. Good charts, guys. I like it. Let me see here. Who uses USDT? I will USDT in the exchanges. Now, I don't have like a USDT wallet in my longer term portfolio. I don't go into USDT. But on the exchanges, trading accounts and all that, certainly. And if I need to for a little while, then I will. Omise Go. You guys want to talk Omise Go? Let's see here. I was looking at this one earlier. All right, OMG. You know, so this was also put in that double bottom. This one's actually looking pretty good for a short-term trade, I think. Versus BTC starting to outperform. That's looking good. It's just been hit pretty hard to the downside. Let me go on Bitfinex, trade the dollar. It's looking pretty good. If you like Omise Go here, you know, just this little trend it's starting to put in, I think will be good. It's going to hit major resistance right around $11. So that's going to really be the point to watch, and maybe even below that. So if you trade that, I mean, you can get a good 15% out of this maybe before starting to look to profit on that. If it breaks out, I think it's just going to need more work. If it does go above 11, I think you'll see a little bit of pullback. It'll come back to 11 and then maybe start to ride longer. If you're a long-term holder and you haven't sold out before this big drop, then at this point, hold it. And maybe you want to take some profits or capture some back here around 11 and then see what it does. And if it starts to break out, then, you know, you're only a couple bucks away and you'll get your signal. So that's how I would be playing that. I am not in Omise Go personally. And but you know, this might not be a bad little trade here. might not be bad at all, guys. Maybe we should look at this one. I just think it's going to have a lot of resistance on this one. Yeah, that Head and Shoulders is keeping me at bay. I mean, if there was, yeah, that's the thing, right? You you look at the opportunity cost, right? Like, do I go Omise Go, or do I do Lisk, or do I do Ethereum, or what are the options, right? If Omise Go was the only one looking good and moving up, then maybe. So some of you guys are asking about my long-term portfolio. Would I be willing to share? And yeah, I don't have a problem sharing what's in my long-term portfolio. Right now, it's the core ones, right? So BTC, Ethereum, a little bit of Litecoin. From a percent basis, Ethereum is my biggest one right now. And I'm just thinking it might outperform Bitcoin in the near term. It took a big hit on the way down, and I pretty much had moved back into, so the way I do it is, if I don't want to go into cash, but I want to minimize the downside, I go into Bitcoin, right? Because yeah, Bitcoin could go down 10, 15, 20%. But if that happens, the other ones are high beta, meaning they're going to magnify it, right? So you're going to go down 20, 30, 40% on Ethereum and Litecoin. And we saw that. And so I'll do that if I don't just go into cash. And it depends on the account. Like if you're in GDAX, or if you can move some money to one of the exchanges quickly, then you can go to cash. But if you're not, then I'll just go into Bitcoin, right? That. So in the near term, I did that. We saw the big lows. I started moving some back into Ethereum. And so that's where I'm at right now. But I'm still holding some Bitcoin, some Ethereum. I've got a tiny bit of other things. Like I'm talking about 25% of the portfolio spread out, right? So I've got some Civic. I've got some Neo. I'm trying to think, what else do I have? Let me look. But it's mostly the core right now, and that's mainly because when I saw the markets breaking down, I was cautious, and I was getting worried and started cashing out. Right, cashed out on my Omise Go, cashed out on the ARK trade, and so it's mostly the core right now. All right. Anything else, guys? Any other questions? Let me see here. I like that you have your bear goggles off. Yeah, me too. I'm still feeling cautious, but the bear goggles are coming off. And if I see the lows here starting to get taken out, maybe, but I'm starting to see some good action, at least intermediate near term, right? A month out, who knows, guys? I couldn't tell you. Nobody could tell you. I have some guesses, but I mean, at this point, nobody knows. So yeah, looking good, guys. Let me go back to the questions here. Oh, when did I change my moving average? That's a good question. Actually, the reason I did that, I was looking at Bitcoin on the daily chart, was holding the moving average. And so it's just kind of, I left my default that way. So if you go to Bitcoin, this 100-day has held a couple times, and that's why it's defaulted. So I apologize. And to be honest with you, the moving average, the longer one, I'll turn it off and on a lot when I'm charting. And so it's real easy to just change here, and you just pop it back to 50, and there you go. But right now, the 50 on Bitcoin has been kind of not a signal, right? Notice it doesn't really, there's no correlation to the 50 anywhere here at all. The 100-day has been. On some of the other shorter term time frames, right? The 4-hour chart, I'll use that on some of the other ones. So that's why I'll just alternate right now, pop it back and forth. But the reason I have it set to 100 right now is because probably the chart I'm chucking the most is BTC at this point. And so it's just kind of my default, but good question. But I'll do this a lot when I'm charting. I'll close out the moving averages, kind of get the clean look, or turn off RSI, or I'll just turn off volume. So got to look at it a bunch of different ways. Okay, let me see. Any other questions, guys? Any other thoughts? Let me go back to the Slack. I'm sure I missed some questions on Slack, so I apologize. I'm going to go through it and give you guys some responses and some updates. What I will do too is I'm going to start posting maybe just once a week. I don't want to make it too frequently, but I'll post like maybe like some sort of summarized profit loss statement. So what was the trade? So like, for example, Lisk and Made, I took some very small positions that got stopped out. I'll kind of show that percent loss, percent gain. And then anything else that's active, I'll show that, open positions, and then profits, loss based on the price at the time that I send it out. So I'll do that once a week. Let me see here. Chart guys, reckon BTC is forming a head and shoulders. Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned that yesterday. The 4-hour chart on the BTC is a potential head and shoulders. That's very clear right here. The head and then the shoulder, which is starting to correlate with the downtrend. What would invalidate that is a break above the downtrend, which will also clear the shoulder here, and if it starts to hold. But very real possibility right now. Absolutely. Let me see what else here. Okay. A lot of good comments on China and Japan. All right. Looks like you guys posted some charts. I will be looking at those. Some good questions on different scenarios. All right. Anything else? Anything you guys are seeing? Any good setups that you like? Maybe you want me to look at the charts on? All right. So I'm going to be posting some updates here. Like I said, if I see Bitcoin break above, I'll probably go clear the cash position and hold Bitcoin until some of the other ones start moving, or who knows, maybe I'll just start taking some early positions in like a Decred, or I'm leery of Lisk. I want to take an early position on Lisk, but right now I'm just leery of it. It's very volatile. I'd rather almost just wait for it to break out. And this 166, 165 area has been a major wall so far. So if it starts to move above that, maybe, but I'm holding out for now. So the sell wall on Lisk. Okay, so one is the resistance, but if you look at the order book, every time it started to pop above this 166, 167, depending on the exchange, the order book shows up differently, but you can see like order in size of Bitcoin, and you have to look at it relative, right? So if every order on average is like 0.01 or 0.5 Bitcoin, but then you see a bunch of orders start showing up here, and that's what I was seeing, right? Above that 166, 170. I was seeing sell orders in the magnitude of 20, 30, 40 Bitcoin, like just crazy amounts of Lisk that someone was just wanting to pop right here at this price point. And, a lot of people just play games and paint the chart that way, and I get that, but until that moves out or the buyers overwhelm the sellers at that point, that just seems to be a wall. And you can do that on the downside too with the buy side. So you can see if there's a bunch of buyers holding up support, that also gives you confidence on how low you can set your stops. Because if there's a bunch of people willing to pay for it, let's say at 140, 145 or 148, your stops down here, you're feeling pretty good. So I use that sometimes. I take it with a grain of salt, just because I know people can play games with the buy sell orders. And I know that there's always a ton of orders that are not visible. And like myself, right? If I'm watching something, I'm not going to post an order necessarily, and I might just jump on it when the price comes. But that's how I look at that. Okay. Good question, though. Let's see. I'm thinking that's it, guys. I don't see any more questions coming in. I appreciate you guys joining me on this early Saturday for some, very early, middle of the night for others. And I know that it's hard to cover all the time zones. So next week's, maybe I'll do later my day, late evening or night. That way we can give some of the other time zones some more favorable times to do this. All right, guys, I'm looking forward to the next week. Next couple of days will be interesting. We'll see what Bitcoin does here in the next day. It's going to be key to see if that 3,800 gets taken out, and if that head and shoulder potential pattern gets invalidated. I'm thinking it will. I'm hoping it will, but we'll see. Time will tell, guys. You're not minding the 3 a.m. start. Oh, I appreciate you guys. That's crazy early. I like to sleep at 3 a.m. All right. Hey, everybody. Have a good day. And I'll see you all in the chat, in the Slack room. Take care.